Hello, everybody. I'm going to do a quick sound check to make sure that you can hear me okay. I'll keep an eye on Slack to make sure that that is working as expected. So can I get a quick confirmation on track 3 that audio visual is working? Awesome. Okay, I've got confirmation about hearing me and seeing me. Fantastic. The seeing me part will be short and sweet, but you'll probably want to keep my audio. So looks like things are good there. Awesome. Hopefully the conference is going well for all of you. It's our first time, and we've been managing a lot of things here, Slack, and yeah, obviously the sessions themselves and YouTube. So it's been a bit of work, and we're thankful for some patience. We're amazingly thankful for our presenters. They've been amazing. As you can see, amazing. We're really excited about them. And thanks to all you guys for participating. We've got hundreds and hundreds of people in our Slack channels and in our sessions. We've had I think we'll have almost 3,000 people registered. So it's awesome for a first conference, especially virtually with all the potential tech issues. So glad things are working. So my presentation is going to be on some CoughDrop. We love CoughDrop at CoughDrop, and we've heard from Brian and from Scott. I'm going to specifically focus on just how to manage multiple clients, multiple students, multiple folks that you may be supporting with AAC. So I'm going to kick on my screen share here. Let's do screen 2. And hopefully that is still working. I'll kind of keep an eye over here. And now I'm sympathizing for the presenters I've been helping, trying to manage all the Slack and their sessions. So awesome. So I'm just going to go through a little bit of an introduction of kind of CoughDrop specifically was designed and built to kind of sync across devices and make sure that the users had a good user experience. And one of the things that we found is that same technology was going to support administrators or speech pathologists, admins, school teachers, occupational therapists, all you many wonderful folks that are joining us today. You don't take care of just one person. Many of you take care of several people, dozens of people. I work with a person who actually takes care of over 200 AAC users. And that, as challenging as that might be, we wanted to build some tools to make that an easier process. And so we're going to show kind of some of those available tools to you today. And let's see if I can get Slack here just a little more visible so I can keep an eye on questions. There we go. Okay. So I kind of want to talk about how things, technology's evolved a lot, even in the last, especially 10 years. It's the anniversary of the kind of handheld touch device, the iPhone, the one that really changed the game. But even, and then websites went mobile, and mobile first became a focus for many technologies. And now, and because of that change, we've had to evolve these interactions with computers, with technology. So kind of the old way is back when I was in school, if we were given a device or we were to receive help from the tech person or the therapist or a teacher that we were working with, they would have to come work with us individually. So AAC, even 10 years ago, even a few years ago, if there was any kind of issues or support needs, the support or the person would have to go and find out either in a reactive way, where they would get a phone call from their teacher or from mom and dad saying, hey, my kid isn't able to use CoughDrop, or my client isn't able to use, my AAC, or my client isn't able to use AAC. And so the person would then go to the device, look at settings, do some troubleshooting, fix it, and then go to the next person. And they spend a lot of time driving around from location to location, from building to building, from person to person, and kind of not until they had their tablet in hand or had their device in hand, they couldn't see how things were going. Again, until they were there at the device looking at it, or until they got a phone call. So it was very reactive, and it was pretty time consuming going from device to device. So that obviously created some challenges. One is you wouldn't have any data. So before you even got there, you didn't know how recently they've been using it. Sometimes weeks would go by without them using it. And nobody had any visibility on that. Maybe there just wasn't urgency or even interest from some of the support that a teacher was giving, or maybe people didn't know how to support the individual user. And so you wouldn't really have that visibility until you got there. And that's hard. That makes it difficult to support a team of users if you don't have that access. Obviously, you'd have to do the support at the device, and it was basically just a big time burden. Now, when Brian was kind of exploring AAC and the support for his daughter with Rett syndrome, he said, it's got to be easier than this. There's got to be a better solution. I mean, cloud technology has taken off. This is a few years ago, obviously. Everyone has multiple devices that they're using, and so this can't just be the situation of today. And sure enough, it was. People there, what he was experiencing was the reality that people felt, and he said, this can't be, we need to do better than this. So one of the advantages of the first thing that Brian considered when he was doing the technology is we've got to connect the device to the cloud. That allows me to do two things. One, it allows me to see how are my many people doing from a single location. Also, it means that if a device breaks, I think Scott probably highlighted this in his session, if I drop my iPad or it runs out of battery, I can go grab a Kindle Fire, log into my CoughDrop account, and I can go right back to the boards I was using. It can maintain all of the data and analytics I've been generating, and off I go. So because we live in a world with multiple devices, we should be able to, you're seeing many applications adopt that, where you simply just log in and it synchronizes all the information from device to device. Be that a computer, be that a phone, be that a tablet, be that a proprietary device, that information should sync. So hopefully not being too redundant here. And then obviously because of that, that connectivity, that means that you have the visibility. Because I can see it both on my phone and on the tablet and from my computer, well, I preferably would like to hang out on my computer or at the park on my phone, and I can see not only the data that I'm generating and the sessions that I might be having, or the person I'm supervising or supporting, but I can see the session of many people. So here at CoughDrop, one benefit that you guys probably see is that we're able to provide technical support on accounts from Utah. All of us are here in Salt Lake City, Utah, well, along the Wasatch Front here in Utah. And if you guys are having an issue with your settings or a board or want to share something, we can actually log in from the back end and see how you're doing, and see from your view the things that you're experiencing, either yourself or with the person you support. So that is hugely beneficial for us in supporting, and for you obviously seeing your team of people that you support. Okay, so having that visibility to data is awesome, and you can do it every day. You can log in, see how many sessions have occurred. Is that growing? Is that shrinking? Are we introducing more words? And we'll get a bit into the reporting, but first of all, just having the visibility is hugely important, obviously. Okay, and then making sure that the information is not just generated on the one device, but it's got to be real time, it's got to be active, and it's got to be synchronized. So no matter when I log into a device, I can see that. And when I look at my dashboards, they need to be accurate. So the one dependency I think I will highlight there is that we do need to hit the internet once in a while. Now, we're not magic. We would love to figure out how to make things talk to each other without the internet, especially across the country or across the world even. Bluetooth hasn't quite reached that bandwidth yet, or that wavelength yet. And so what we recommend is to take advantage of seeing that performance from your multiple users or for your team, is being able to hit the internet at least once a week. Once a week or every couple of weeks, and that'll still give you that snapshot where you're not having so much downtime. Now, CoughDrop and AAC should and does work offline, so you don't have to always be connected to the internet, but to enjoy some of the data and the support. And if you do make an adjustment, maybe you're using an eye tracker or some scanning on a device, some dwell, a cursor, or a trigger, you can adjust those settings, and they won't catch up to the account on that device unless they obviously hit the internet. So something to keep in mind there. And I think, yep. And with that benefit means that you can proactively watch things. You can do it from the comfort of your home or your office. And then obviously you can go and do device support when it's more of a hardware issue, not the software AAC application issue. Okay. I'm used to asking questions and stuff, but I'll probably just dive in. I'm looking at Slack, it's pretty quiet, so feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions on that. But what I'd like to do now is just kind of show you in CoughDrop how we do just that. Sure, I'll save it. Okay. So I'm now going to log into CoughDrop here. There we go. Okay, so to kind of drive the point home, my job at CoughDrop is to take care of all of our mostly organizations. So these are institutions, these are schools, these are clinics, these are private schools. We do have some individual therapists that we support. And my job is to make sure that the technology is working for them, that they're getting the needs and the product updates and the product requests or feature requests to our team at CoughDrop. And you know, I need to be able to not only support the individual users, but I need to support admins that support multiple users. So we have thousands of AAC users in CoughDrop. And some of those are kind of grouped into these organizations, is what we call them. Again, these are schools, clinics. It can really just be groups of users, and it gives you some of that oversight. So I, as the services director, have access to see all of these organizations again, and I can support them and see them and help troubleshoot and fix things. And so not only are we doing it at a small level of maybe 5 or 10 AAC users, I'm doing it at a much larger level. We're actually supporting hundreds and even thousands of AAC clients from a single location. Let me show you a little bit how I do that. So I'm going to log into CoughDrop, which many of you will obviously be familiar. Once you log in, this screen will look similar. And I'm going to walk a little bit about the dashboard. It looks nice at front. I think most people just jump to their boards or maybe jump to the reports, but there's actually a lot of good information happening here. And I'm going to highlight some of these areas and what they're doing. So when you first log into CoughDrop, if you have just one what we call supervisee, or just one AAC client or one AAC user, you're going to see just that one person here, right? You'll be able to click on them and kind of see their individual activity. How many goals are they meeting? How many sessions have happened? Of course, this beautiful reports tab. I need to go back a few months ago because I've got better data. But I can see a great individual view of how AAC is going for my person that I support, for my AAC user. So here's kind of a nice set of data. Hopefully you've seen some of this. Not the point today, but you get this beautiful individual view of what's happening. Now on each user, they're generating logs or generating data. It can be totally optional. We understand that some of this data might be sensitive, so this can be something that you can opt in or out of. You can turn off your data and just use it for speech and maintain some privacy. We would recommend, where appropriate, to have data turned on. You can temporarily pause the logging. So if there was some maybe sensitive information or you wanted to turn it off for a day or even a few minutes, it's a pretty quick setting within CoughDrop. But if you can leave it on, it really helps you get a good view for how things are going. And this is going to be critical when you're supporting especially multiple people. You'll still have the advantages of making settings, but that proactive activity and kind of the diagnosis will be harder if you're not getting this data. So this is the individual view of the data. I'm going to go to the raw information, which I believe is here. Yep, and this is where I'm seeing each time that they press a button, depending on how long it takes them and which button and which board they pressed, it's logging these individual events, which eventually filters up into these beautiful graphical reports that many of you see. Okay, let me check for some questions here real quick. There's a cool question about professional free series of CoughDrop available for SLPs to do assessments. You probably saw that assessments option here. When I click on the summary, I can do a quick assessment. I believe that's available for anybody who is a supervisor over their communicator. I might have to double check, but it looks like when you do set up the organizational tools, you are able to kind of share those assessments and view them as a team. So there are going to be some tools that I see that you probably don't in your regular login. So you have to have both a paid communicator, and then some of these tools will only be available to organizational accounts. I believe the assessment tool is available for anybody who just wants to, anybody who's connected to a communicator. Okay, So there's that individual view of reports and the communicator, but I got to take a step back. You know, maybe you're a speech pathologist and you've got 5 or 10 or 20 people that you oversee and work with. You want to get a quick snapshot of how everyone's doing. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard here, and keep in mind that view of reports is available for every individual user. So you can go in there and go one by one and click on all the people that you're working with currently. You can change that list. You can make yourself, obviously, as long as you're working with them, you can make them available in this view. Even if you remove yourself, their logging and their activity can go on and just go with mom and dad and the family, or with their maybe different supporters. And if you were to log back in, all that information would be restored. So you always have access to those views individually. And also they'd give you kind of control of who's in this list of everyone you're overseeing. That might get very high, like that one account that I work with that has 240. She's probably not using this particular view. There's some better ways to slice and dice how my groups of users are doing. Okay, so there's that list there. You're gonna be able to click on each one of those, click on their accounts, and see the same view I showed you earlier. Okay, you're gonna have access to your boards and obviously the wonderful tools of CoughDrop. Then you have this notification section. I think this is important for 2 reasons. One, it shows you recent sessions. You can see I only got, well, I guess I got a couple here, Stephen Communicator 5 and Stephen Communicator. You can see I've been very clever and creative with my, my test user accounts here. But this is going to show you also other things about anybody who's achieved a goal, which I think is going to be huge for if you're tracking multiple clients and seeing how they're doing, or multiple students seeing how they're doing, is setting some goals. I'll show you how to do that in a bit. This will show you when those goals have been met or all those badges have been met. And then obviously what kind of sessions have happened. So I can go in there, I can say, wow, 45 buttons happened here, kind of was a lot going on. Let me go check out why. It's going to give a live link to that person and that session. So you're getting, within just a landing page, pretty good access to multiple helpful areas. Okay, and then of course your boards. Now there's going to be a couple areas that many of you have not seen. Now the reason for that is the question was about a professional version of CoughDrop, and while we don't have a professional version, CoughDrop still functions, at least at this level, for anybody who has multiple communicators and oversees more than one user. You'll still have access to everything I've shown you today, but there is kind of a second level of where we provide organizational tools, and those are for generally more sizable caseloads or sizable institutions. So we don't really have a hard number. We're happy to work with you if you'd like to have access to these tools. I think if you've got 4 or less users, it's pretty manageable from what I just showed you. Kicking up, 4 tabs or so is pretty easy to go and look and see how they're doing. But when you start scaling from 5 to 10 to 20 to hundreds of users, these next set of tools are probably going to be more useful. So if you'd like access to those, hit us up after the conference, please. We're very, very busy right now for the next couple of days. But feel free to reach out to us, tell us that you're interested, and we'll have a conversation offline with you about setting you up with some of the organizational tools. Okay, and that's what I'm going to dive into next. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice is I've got a couple here. I've got CoughDrop Admin, but this is going to be access to the account view, which I'll show you right here. Give me just one sec. Look at my Acme account. So it's not live here because I've got some super access, but when I click on this link, it would take me to a page that looks like, better sign in here. There we go. And when I go back to that page here, oh, come on. This is the perfect time for this stuff to kind of happen, obviously. Let me go here. That is failing to load for some reason. I can show you the other one I was working on. If I go to this project here, there we go. I don't have any activity here. That's why I was trying to open up that other one. But this is going to be your organizational dashboard. So the first one that I saw just back here was kind of my personal dashboard. So this is going to be my individual, everything I just showed you. Then you'll have what we call an organizational dashboard. Okay, and it would take you to this screen. This would obviously be populated with some bar graphs, access to multiple communicators and supervisors that I might be working with. So this is I get more tools at that organizational view. Obviously, when you're managing AAC users and AAC communicators, you're they're going to have some oversight as well. So if it's just you and the 5, that's why I think just using the regular CoughDrop setup is probably fine. But if you're working maybe in a clinic where there's several speech pathologists and several teams, you're going to have the ability to manage those accounts, who oversees who has permissions to do what, who can view boards, who can edit boards. You get this whole new set of tools about adding users, creating users, assigning supervisorship, all within this organizational tool. Okay, so this is probably new stuff that many of you have not seen. Like you can see, I can just create a quick account here. I don't have to go sign up for CoughDrop from the website, add a supervisor. I can do all from my organizational tools. So that we believe is critical in managing a team or multiple, a higher amount of AAC clients or users. Okay, so that's just kind of at the user management. Now I think the next thing to really want to look at is rooms. And I'd like to get to here. Let's see if it works from this link. There we go. Now I'm in the Acme test. So we have this feature called rooms. Now we call it rooms just because I think people are used to more physical environments, especially with AAC tools. We call them rooms, but really they're just groups. Usually just using groups. And so I kind of bundled my communicators here together saying, okay, this is how I want to view the activity for a set of the people I'm managing. This can maybe replicate a physical setup that you're using. This maybe could replicate a caseload that you have. So if you've got just the 5 that you're using, you might just have one room, or one group. If you're overseeing a larger institution, you would have dozens of rooms with each of their teachers maybe as a supervisor, the SLP as a supervisor. In our clinic, we would have, basically this is just set up per SLP and per, I believe they have an evaluation room where all the evaluations are happening. So they've kind of grouped it in a couple different ways. As an admin and as a supervisor or a therapist, you can, or a pathologist, you can live in multiple groups or multiple rooms, and so can the communicator. So this isn't just, it's not a one and done. You can slice and dice this for reporting purposes, for management purposes, for permissions purposes, and have really use it to, I think, multiple uses in this function of rooms. The nice thing that I like immediately to see is this stats page. So when I click on this, I've got a great view of how many recent sessions have happened. So I've got, looks like only 1 of my 8 people have logged a session. Also shown there, and also how are my goals and my my badges that I've assigned going. I think that's a great indicator to see how is progress going across my multiple users. That might be a little bit tougher, just kind of say, okay, sessions are great, maybe the vocabulary is increasing, but you can be very intentional. You can be very specific about what progress means to you, what success or what outcomes are you looking for as an administrator or as a supervisor, and you can go set those. I believe Brian's going to be doing a goals session next, so I'll leave most of that to him. I'll show you a little sneak peek of it, but setting these goals I think is going to be hugely useful to find out how are things going. Then of course you have the usual, how many sessions have happened, is that increasing or decreasing over time, okay? So this is that I've grouped a group of my 8 users together, maybe it's the caseload of this supervisor, or maybe it's just I've got a particular eye on a certain set of users. This is going to give me an immediate, fantastic snapshot of how they're doing. Okay, and then you obviously have some helpful information about last session logged, and then kind of some text up here. Now, one thing that I do want to highlight is you can actually export a lot of these data sets as well. So kind of back where I was showing you that user initially, where I was showing you all the raw inputs. Some folks like to create visuals against the data in other ways. So we have people using Excel. You could upload these data sets. There are CSV files, so you could upload them into any kind of a BI tool or business intelligence tool, and get those into other ways where you want to view and kind of consider the data with some other visuals. We feel like we've taken a good stab at it. We're also always looking for good feedback. So if you feel like there's better ways to visualize success and progress and just give you a snapshot of how your multiple users are doing with AAC, with CoughDrop, we would love to hear that input. If you would send us just ideas of images and what data sets you're trying to look for, we are actively reacting to that. We're trying to have those conversations, and your input would be hugely valuable. So this is not a done deal. I like to say that the clay is still wet at CoughDrop. And if you want to find better if you have suggestions or better ways that you want to do this, we are very open to having them and implementing them. And our turnaround time on those implementations or those kind of feature releases is very quick. Okay. So again, I also want to highlight that these graphs and everything I'm showing you here in terms of the organizational tools are also available on your mobile devices. So if you want to see this on a if you want to see this on a tablet, or if you want to see this on a phone, you also have these on your on the go. So if you don't have to be sitting at a computer to view these, it's organized a tiny bit differently, but all the same information is there. I've got a question about organizational dashboard by SLPs who serve multiple schools. Yep, if you're serving multiple schools, we can set those up either by rooms, or we can create different accounts for those. We actually have a consortium of districts that are working together, and we haven't quite landed on a solution, but the options are available. Either we would set up different organizations. So when you go to this homepage here, you'll notice I've got a couple here. If you're serving multiple districts or multiple schools, each one of those could be their own organization. Or the alternative is if you're serving multiple schools, we would set up each school as a room. I think that's the more common setup that I see, is using rooms for schools. A lot of educational users with AAC, obviously. And so rooms has been a great purpose to find out, hey, how am I doing at this school in my special ed program? Oh, there's the graph populating finally. And then you can see per school how things are going. So yes, you would want this organizational dashboard to serve your SLPs that are using multiple schools. And you can give them only access to their rooms. So there might be multiple rooms that exist here. I might have dozens of rooms, but this supervisor here is only going to be in a couple of them, and they're only going to have access to those rooms, okay? I'm showing you a view of more of an admin, so they have access to all the rooms. They have access to this particular page of, this is better, all my communicators, all my supervisors, all the data happening. So this is just the admin view. What you would create are just these supervisors, and then giving them access to rooms, and they will only see the data and the people that they should have access to. And again, you'll notice I have that edit permission, and you can give just a view permission. So it gives you, in terms of managing these multiple teams and people, very effective, right? So you can have a few different levels of permission. Okay, I've got a little, it looks like I'm having an issue with some of the blurriness. If you are seeing blurriness in the YouTube video, go ahead and up the resolution. Click on the little gear icon, and you can change the resolution to get better, so it's not so blurry. You can get a little better resolution. So you can change that. So I saw that question over there in Slack. Okay, so that's our rooms functionality. And really, it gives you, again, that organization. If you want to add a user, you'll click on this little button here. This is where you're going to say, okay, who are my supervisors in this room? So this is who should have access to either view and edit the accounts, or just have access to the data and see how things are going. And that's where you're going to give those different permission sets, with edit permission or with view only. And then you would do the same thing with communicators. Once you've what's your AAC users? Once you've established them in your organization, you can then add them to the room. Okay. Now I want to maybe step back here for just 1 second, and there are a couple of different situations you might run into. One is somebody's been using CoughDrop for 5 years, and they just moved into your under your practice or into your school, and they said, hey, I've got a lot of data here. I need some help both taking a look at it. We obviously want to have some speech pathology going on with this user. Can I just bring this existing account into your organization? The answer there is, of course, yes. You don't have to create users and just manage them from an admin point. We can bring in users, and then they can come right into your organization. They'll populate your dashboards with historical data, and you can see everything going on, even historically, with existing CoughDrop users. Now, you might run into the situation where they leave, right? They let's go back to the schools. They turn 18, they graduate, they've had 10 wonderful years of training and education with your school district, and they leave. Now, there's two considerations. One is the funding. If you've paid for their license and you've picked up that bill, you can assign that license to somebody else. So that's one way to maybe take care of the billing side or the licensing side. The other is their account. Now, they've established some great data. They've spent hours and hours and hours building boards and language sets, and they need to take it with them. Once they turn 18, they graduate, move on out of your school district, again, or out of your clinic. That's not a problem. Their account is specific to them. As soon as you take them out of their organization, they have 2 months to figure out a new funding option. They can either buy a lifetime license, or they can pay month to month. And then they will still maintain all of the work that's happened with them. Now, if they're getting boards shared from a teacher, or boards shared from them with a therapist or a speech pathologist. Make sure that you share those boards with them and that they make their own copies so they can take them with you if it's up to you. I would have a hard time thinking any of you would be too selfish to share them with your communicators. They can make their own copies in CoughDrop, which is super easy, but they can then take that information with them and then and keep that log or that history of all the work that they've done. Obviously very important when you're not only when they're under your jurisdiction or under your management, but for the long-term history or the long-term usage of their account. Okay, so those are our rooms. Okay, so it's basically assigning people who's over who and getting a quick sneak peek for how folks are doing. These guys are awful. You need to go in there and reprimand them. Okay. So I think the other thing is I wanted to go in there and try show a little bit now of what is it that you can track to kind of dictate what's that success. So managing multiple clients to me means first of all, you're able to access their accounts quickly. You're able to share boards with them. You're able to see the activity that they're doing, and that should be fluid. You should be able to assign, unassign, change, kind of view that aggregate reporting, that individual reporting easily. I think I've shown you how to get into the individual reporting pretty quickly. So even from this page, I can just click on any one of these communicators, and I'm drilling down now into that individual view. If I go back, I've showed you the aggregated view, and I can slice and dice those however I want. I can export all this data, and then I can take a big step back and look at the general usage across all my users, potentially hundreds or even thousands of users in a single account, and see how everything is going. Okay, so one is managing multiple clients, just having quick access to all of them. And then saying who has access to working with who. Again, I'm taking a step even back from the individual SLP. I'm talking about a team of SLPs working with multiple clients or students. Okay, so I think in managing them is first access, permission, and reporting. So that's hopefully is good. I want to talk now more into the details of how do I actually day-to-day manage boards, sharing information with them, creating a custom board for a user, and then of course kind of that assigning of I guess maybe setting the what success means to me, or what are the specific things I'm going to track. I'm first going to go, since we're in the vein of reporting, I'm going to first go to goal setting, and then I'll go into the actual board and language management. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Steven character, Steven communicator, handsome little animated guy. I'm in his individual view here, and again, there's the reports, but I want to set, and again, be intentional about what is important to me as a manager. And this can happen at all levels. And I'm going to say what to me means success, and what are the things for me am I trying to track across multiple people. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a goal. Okay, so you guys have probably seen these goals. If you haven't, I'm going to just do a quick overview here. That's not the whole point, but I want to show you why this is so meaningful when you're managing multiple clients. Because just time in the app and banging the same 5 words over and over is great, but we want to see that grow. We want to see that vocabulary build. And I specifically want to track new vocabulary message or usage. I want to track core word usage versus fringe word usage. I want to see both of those growing. I want to see more core usage, all the wonderful things that you guys deal with every day. Okay, so I'm going to set a quick new goal here. I'm going to show you just a few of the things you can do. One is I'm going to say a session a day. Almost everybody talks every day. I'm sure some folks would be grateful if people didn't talk every day, but I just want to make sure that a session happens a day, and we're going to do for 5 days. Do the same thing here. Actually, it doesn't matter. I'll just get things going. I'm going to add the goal, okay? And for a session a day, that's what's important to me. That's what I want to track, is that actually this is getting more consistent or daily use. I'm going to go ahead and edit this goal now. Oops, not take a note. I want to edit it. Here, there we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a badge. Okay, so when I edit the goal, I can go back to that similar screen that I was at earlier, where it shows me the description, what kind of assessments are going to happen. I'm going to automatically assess this goal based on data, so I don't have to go in there and manually say whether something happened or not. I know you guys love doing manual evaluations and sit-down sessions and track if they used a noun or a pronoun or a core word or a fringe word, but technology can handle a lot of that for you. So I'm going to show you now that these goals are going to help quantitate, yes, what has happened in their AAC user. It's no longer just you sitting down and watching them. This is hugely, I think, important to both CoughDrop but any AAC usage, is that the technology is offloading so much of that work for you, okay? So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna say, okay, I wanna look for a specific event type, and I'm gonna say, look, they need to have at least one session. You notice things I can say, I need them to say at least one specific word, I wanna see some modeling happening, maybe a unique word each day. You've got tons of different options of what it is you're trying to track. I'm specifically looking for daily usage, so I'm just gonna do a session, okay? And I want that to happen. I know you can do it for multiple days. Maybe I'll do it in the badges. 3 days in a row, there you go. Days in a row. Okay, and I'm gonna add a badge level here. There we go. I want this to be automatically done based on a session a day, and they have to do it for at least and every day in a sequence for 1 day, or let's do 3 days. Okay, since we did. So I set up kind of a new, my goal is to track daily usage, and then you can set up different levels. Okay, how far am I getting in this progress? And right now I'm saying, okay, and for 3 days, that's a pretty good level of success, okay? So I'm tracking 3 days of that happening, then I'm gonna do a 5 day, or we'll jump right up to 10 days. So I'm gonna add another level here, okay? And this is gonna be level 2. Actually, we'll do multiple days, sorry. In a row. So the first one is for 3 days. The next one, I'm gonna do the same thing. I wanna look for a specific type, a session per day. This time we'll do it for 10 days. And then you can go this on and on for multiple levels. You can even change the image that they get when they reach different levels, kind of gamifying the experience, which is important both for motivation. We've seen it work with adolescents, but also with adults. And you see Xbox and PlayStation and all these things where people are leveling up and getting new awards. The scouting program, badges is or gamifying the experience is powerful. So when you're managing multiple clients, I think this is another aspect, is helping them kind of self-motivate. This is a great way to do that. Depends on the cognitive level and the ability of your users. But if they can get some badges and they know that they're working for a reward or just a certain level of merit, you can set this up for them, and you just kind of set it and forget it. I'm going to set up all these levels of badges. I'm going to give this goal and this badge level and these levels to all 10 of my users. You can share the goals across the users. And then once you've got all this done, so hopefully that made sense. I kind of cruised through it. Wasn't the entire point of my presentation. But once you've got these goals and these levels done, now you're going to start seeing this pop up in your feeds. So now when Steven Communicator uses CoughDrop 3 days in a row, I'm going to say, hey, by the way, somebody reached a new level in their goal. Without having to go find them and check at it individually, you're just going to get automatically pushed a notification about how many goals were met. Obviously, or excuse me, also those other views that I was showing you, so the rooms, that admin view, this shows you goals. So who have goals defined and how many of those goals are being met, which I'm going to check here. Looks like users with goals defined and how many are being met. I'm going to see in that view here. So goals, it can be so valuable when you're trying to, I don't want to say passively, but maybe let technology track a lot of what it is that you're trying to look for or what you believe is helping people be successful. And that can be individualized, right? Goals can be specific per user. They can be shared across users. Maybe they're initiatives that you're trying to track as a clinic. Man, goals really helps multiple AAC, helps you manage multiple people, okay? I know I get in the tendency of talking real quick and stopping breaks, so I'll let y'all kind of soak that in for a minute. So goals and tracking who has goals set and who have met their goals. I personally think that might be a little bit better area where we can give you better graphs on that. Maybe even as you hover over it, can show you which goals that they're tracking on, especially on the individual view, showing all their views, or excuse me, showing all their goals. I'll show you that a little bit here. This is where when I set the badge, it plays this little animation and a sound. You can choose both the image and the sound that plays. Again, it's kind of fun. And when they get it, they get this little badge. This is where you're going to show them individually how they're doing on their goals. And again, you can see it from this view as well. How are they doing? But I think maybe a little bit more visual way of tracking this. Maybe it's an area where we could augment or improve. And some of that feedback from you guys would be great on kind of how you think that should look. So yeah, goals. Okay. I'll give you guys a minute for any questions. We got a bunch of people watching live session. Make sure you have any a chance to ask any questions while we're in context here. people watching live. All right. So the next thing is managing multiple people. Man, those boards can get I don't want to say chaotic, but there can be a lot, especially if you're customizing some core boards and customizing some vocabulary for each individual user. As you should, and we would encourage you to do so. I think when you have some of these tools, maybe that may have been intimidating historically, but some of the tools that CoughDrop is providing hopefully makes that a lot easier. Okay, so one is obviously seeing the board sets that are available to individual communicators. So when I click on this communicator, I can go look at all the boards that have been shared with this communicator. So I can go look at their own set of boards, what's either been communicated, what's been shared with them, what's been created for them, which ones are they set as their home boards, which ones have they liked, which ones are they using, which boards have they been made public. There's tons of features we can go over here. But one is looking at that individual view of their boards, okay? Now, if you want to, instead of logging into their account and creating a board, which I see a lot of our clients do, there's a much better way to do that. So if you got some downtime and even 30 minutes at home just to go and spend time making a specific board for somebody who likes to go horseback riding, we had one in our Facebook community today about somebody going to Disneyland and they wanted a Disneyland board set without having to make it themselves. Man, that is really easy to both find and share the board with one user or 20 users. And I'm going to show you how easy that is. Okay, so first I'm going to go to my own account. I'm going to look at some available boards here. Actually, no, I'm going to go to the boards here. Excuse me. And I'm going to go see if there is one here for Disneyland. Come on, Disneyland. We got some Disney stuff here. Channels. Nah, it's mostly videos. Let's go take a look at one of these. There you go. There's a bunch of Disney videos. So if somebody wants a good board about watching Disney videos and wants a board already created, it's all yours. There's a public board out there available. Now look, that makes it a lot easier managing multiple people. Again, that's why I keep going back to, is letting other people do the work for you. So many people have created public boards that you literally can rip off. And I say that deliberately because they've made a board public. It's a Creative Commons license, so you can go in there, copy the board, manipulate it, change it, update it, change the images, rearrange it to your liking. We want to have a public, open variety of boards that you can choose from. In fact, I don't see a great one here for Disneyland. Let me check for it just in case. While we're here, none found. So I challenge you guys to go build a Disneyland board that would be helpful to Jonathan, who's out in Disneyland today with his AAC kid and needs to use it. So it looks like I got a question about some pricing. Yep, pricing's right. $200 for a 5-year. Actually gives you lifetime access to CoughDrop and $6 per month. Those are the individual pricing. When you buy as an organization, probably something else I want to highlight is if a school or a clinic, you guys want to do a purchase order and buy multiple licenses, we actually will scale the pricing for you. So if you've got 50 users, 100 users, or even 10 users, we'll start giving you a break on price. And that's pretty common practice, industry practice with software vendors, and we follow that as a best practice. So favorable pricing, those are where it started. Those kind of what I mentioned earlier, that's all on our website. So yeah, something to keep note of. But let's say I have gone in here and I found a board. Where was that awesome the movies? Videos, here we go. So let's say I want to make this board available now to my kid before we run over to Disneyland. I'm going to click on this board that I found. Maybe I go and I create it from scratch. It doesn't really matter. All I got to do is find the board, okay? Then you're going to go ahead and hit share. Okay, I'm going to, oh, whoops, let me make a copy first. I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to do it for myself. And I can copy it to others. This is kind of part of that first layer of management. If you want to copy it immediately to one of your other user sets, I want to do some modification first, so I'm going to do that. You can immediately choose who you want to make a copy for. I'm going to copy just this board, and bada bing, I've got my own version of this board right here. You'll notice that now it says the Cable More Videos 9, which was the public board. It's now under my account. So now I can do whatever I want with this board. I'm going to go ahead and edit the board. Now I can drag and drop these videos around. And I don't like the final scene of Aladdin because it's very frightening. So I'm going to clear this button. And now I can make that available with, yep, there we go. I'm going to make that available for maybe a less intense Disney moment. Anyway, once I've kind of customized this and I'm ready to share it now with my communicators, I'm going to save it. And now I'm going to share it. Whoops. Share with whoever, who are the people that I have access to. Okay, so this is going to be my list of people, or the list of the people that I work with or I manage, and I can go share that board with them. So these tools are available to anyone who has an account. These are not specific to organizational tools. These are just everyday CoughDrop tools. So if you go sign up today, you would have access to do all this board discovery and board sharing. And so yeah, this stuff I'm showing you now, everyone should be able just to log in, go sign up for CoughDrop, and have access to all this. Creating custom boards, creating custom images, and then of course sharing it with 1 or 100 communicators. Okay, and then once you've shared it with them, then you can go set it as their home board. You can make it maybe specific. You can make their own copies of it, and then make it specific to them. So good ideas of this is like a family board. I've gone through and I've created my own family board here. Find the board. Go find family. Drive the point home. I'm going to go find my family, and these are now my family members, right? Maybe I wanted just kind of some scaffolding or a head start of who are the different family members. I didn't want to start all the way from scratch, but once it's there, then I want to go customize it. I'm going to go share it with whoever I'm working with, and then once that's done, I'm going to go find that user, and I'm going to upload a picture of their mom, their dad, their sister, brother, yeah, cousins, and whoever else you want to put in there. Blue, my dog, he passed away last fall, but I still want to remember him in AAC. So anyway, that's where it's a great idea to start with a copy, but then just customizing it per user. Okay, so again, makes it a lot easier to manage per user, having that huge head start both from a public board set or creating one on your own for a specific user. Okay, and then if you want to find out who's using what as a home board, that's where you're going to go. Hopefully you're familiar with most of those tools, but that's where you're going to go to each one of those communicators, find out who's using this as a home board, and it'll show what home board that they're using. So yeah, I'll probably try and wrap up now, but from my view, the tools that we've built really should scale well to many, many users. Being able to see how they're doing, set the things that I'm trying to track on them, being able to add or subtract who should be working with who and who am I trying to visualize collectively, clearly quick access to each one of those accounts. We feel like this set of tools really gets the job done pretty well. The board tools and language management, man, that's just a big job anyway, but starting from scratch, finding public boards, sharing across the world, waiting for that Disneyland board from you guys today, and then being able just to share it, assign it literally within 30 seconds, makes managing AAC so much easier. And again, I think those are unique features to us because of both the cloud connectivity, the multi-device, these organizational tools that we've created, and that public library of boards. We're actually supporting a standard for public boards, so if any other vendors want to use the board sets that have been created, they can export it and upload it into their systems. We're very supportive, and we're very I think bullish on trying to make this a more friendly environment where all vendors and all AAC platforms can play together. But today, they're available to you in CoughDrop, and you just got to go sign up. If you are interested in some of these organizational tools, reach out to me. I'm steve@mycoughdrop.com. I'll post that here in Slack. It's pretty easy to get a hold of us. Just hit us up on the contact us within mycoughdrop.com. You can get a hold of me or anyone else over here, and we'll be happy to discuss with you setting up an organization for you and your clinic, you and your school, you and your caseload, or you and your 15 kids that you might have that are all in need of AAC. So anyway, thanks for your time today, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. I'll kind of move to Slack, but hopefully this was helpful. If there's any questions, please post them in Slack, and we will be in touch.